Clock. Neighbors are wilding out. Let's put my glasses on. I hope the goddess does show up. I hope she remembers. We will see what we see. Buttercream Butch has joined the live. Hello, Buttercream Butch. That's a name. Love that name. Just sitting here waiting for the goddess to join us. They are busy, so I don't even know if they're going to remember. Which would be okay. So we'll see what happens. If they show up. Drinking my tea to soothe my throat, which is hurting me. So we'll give it a few more minutes. Maybe I should reach out and poke her. I'm gonna poke them. If the sibling doesn't come on, we're just gonna have a conversation, and Lord knows I don't need to be unsupervised, although I could be. I wonder what folks will be doing this weekend. Anything fun and exciting? As windy as it is out there, a house may fall on you if you go outside. I wonder if anybody has been to any great parties, get-togethers, gatherings. What's happening out in the world? What's happening out in the world besides the wind? Oh yeah, I should talk about my wonderful leather dinner that I hosted. It was fantastic. Thank you to the folks that came out. We had a good time. It was a good look. I had some great conversations about leather. Can't wait to do it again. Anyway, I am doing some more book reviews. The book that I am still reading, Playing with Taboo, The Forked Tongue, and Leather Mentorship. Now I'm reading this book, FYI. I'm going to be doing a review on it. The Leather Boy's Handbook by Vince Andrews. So I will be doing a review on that. I'm almost done with the book. Actually, this is my second time reading this book, but I want to refresh my memory. And so I will be doing a review. I usually put my reviews up on the YouTube page, which I'm over there talking shit over there on the BLX YouTube page. I have so many opinions. You can find them at over there. And also talk some shit over on the Patreon, which you can join for $10 a month if you're interested in supporting BLX Pay Black and Brown LGBTQ leather kink BDSM educators. Okay. Oh, the sibling has joined. Let the shenanigans begin. Let me see if I can get the sibling in here.
Hello. How are you? How are you?
I'm fine. You need a minute?
No, I'm just filling up my water. I got my snacks already over at the couch. Just had to take a second.
I understand. Yes, do get your water. You gotta have to stay hydrated.
Yes.
I know you're extremely busy, so you might be just checked out.
I got up today. I managed to be able to put in, oh God, you can see my little janky old blinds and stuff in the back. Thank the cat.
If you have a cat, your blinds are supposed to look like that.
Somebody lied to her, lied to the rest of y'all, because I ain't trying to have my house looking like this. But yeah, no, I got laundry going. There will be a nap after this. So I am doing the best I can to make good use of my time. And tomorrow is most certainly a rest. Mm-hmm. We ain't doing much of nothing other than staring at my four walls kind of day to recuperate, but not today. It's good. It's the start of my day. It's basically the start of my day. Okay. So multitasking, making things work.
Black folks always multitasking. I'm not mad at it. I am, but I'm not. But I get it. So when you're ready, I was just telling folks on the live some things that BLX is doing. We just finished a round of 3 workshops with the Supreme Queens in April. Supreme Queens will be doing a candle making wax play massage thing in Newark, New Jersey.
Ooh.
I think that's April 12th. I know, right? It's a lot.
It's so fancy.
So fancy. It is fancy. We got to get that education out there because we're going to get into it. As my Puerto Rican siblings say, there's no hair on my tongue. Meaning, just got to say what we got to say. Of course, April is coming up. Imsel is coming up.
Yes.
You will be.
Since it moves to the East Coast, we give thanks. I have not missed one and probably will not be missing one. It's one of the few things that is blocked out on my calendar as soon as the last one is over.
That's happening the 23rd to the 27th.
This year, I am not hosting a hospitality suite, specifically the Mid-Atlantic Onyx Pearls. We are hosting a hospitality suite / hospitality, 2 hours?
Sorry, that was last year. It was the Onyx. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I say it's you, but you're right. It was the chapter.
Yeah. No karaoke this year. I will be bringing some tiny karaoke equipment just in case. We are hosting through the Mid-Atlantic Onyx Pearls, so that should be fun, especially because we like to take it outside when we can.
Yeah, last year that karaoke, baby. Oh, that's fun. That's all I'm gonna name my other things too, but that karaoke was so much fun. It was a nice way to kick off Imsel, at least for me. And I know some other people are still talking about the karaoke.
I look at the pictures every now and then.
We had a lot of fun.
Always a time.
It is. It is. What else is happening over here, BLX? In May, we're going to be doing a electro class play workshop, and I'm going to be doing a tease craft where we are making mini floggers or mini these things. Anything that hurts you badly, we will be making. We will be making some of these or some of these little flogger things. That's going to be happening in May. But join the newsletter. It's going to be all there. Now we can get into, you know what? I can't believe someone would be calling me. How dare Teapot call me? Now we're going to get into, oh, hi, Lotus Rope. Hi, it's nice to see you. Goddexx Symphonee. Do tell us a little bit about yourself. You did put up your bio, which says, you consider yourself leather. How did you come to the community? How did you find it? Are you just kinky? Are you just, do tell. And
yeah. So I will go through a quick little background. That's nice. My name is Goddexx Symphonee. I am a leather dominant, sadomasochist, head of household, leather cat, leather femme, just all around kinkster, badass, whatever you fuck you want to call it. I have been in the lifestyle for over 10 years. I used to try and keep track of the exact amount of years, but I figure after 10, it's fuck it. Usually I tell people it's just easier to go, especially nowadays, to go on FetLife and look and see when my joined FetLife date is. Because I started going to Munches and stuff pretty soon after I joined. So it's accurate for my actual real time in real life interaction in the actual community of kink and leather, especially. Like, I'm not too different from a lot of us. I was always kinky. I was doing kinky stuff back in it. I was doing some of the most unsafe breath play at a young age. Multiple different types of unsafe breath play. It's not really cute. Yeah, doing this for over 10 years. I've been an educator, event organizer, promoter, panelist, keynote speaker.
And most importantly, for me in this conversation, a title holder.
Yes, Miss DC Eagle 2020 into perpetuity, unfortunately, as of right now. There is a new Eagle in DC. It is the District Eagle. It's not the DC Eagle. That entity, the actual copyright name, the trademarked name and all of that stuff were bought. It was bought by an investor. Nothing has come of it yet, but we do have a brand new Eagle. I've only gone once. I'm waiting to go again, mainly just because I went on opening night. It was a crush of people, lots of people who had no idea what the hell of an Eagle even is. But it's definitely starting to settle into what seems to be a pretty decent space. They're definitely reaching out to lots of different people for more types of events and whatnot. So it's actually starting to shape up to be something
that's doing outreach.
A little excited. I don't know how far they have reached, but I do know that they have at least one or two people that they're working with to actually do education classes, like one-on-one classes there. It's only been open for about maybe a month and a half. They've already had pup play weekends, have had all different types of stuff. They literally started off with a Latin night. It's a weekly thing. Every Thursday, it's a Latin night. So a lot of the things that I'm seeing have me excited, have me happy for it. Of course, it just depends on how far this continues to go and grow and how serious they are about actual outreach to the entire community instead of just segments, that most well-known segment of the community, which is the Tom of Finland looking motherfuckers who are just out there. The Tom of Finland motherfuckers.
All right, let me sip my tea too, because I'm not feeling well. So I don't want you to take over the conversation and have thoughts and opinions, which would be fine with me.
It's like such a setup. That is such a setup. No, like it's so far shaping up to be something that's really great, really cool. And I just hope that they continue to do outreach beyond just cis white gay men to ensure that there's some real actual inclusion of the entire community, because it's definitely one of the things that I experienced. Ooh, child.
That's your pussy behind you. You got a pussy behind you.
Always. One of the things that I definitely experienced when I ran for my title and when I was in my title year, folks who are just, oh my gosh, women go to the Eagle? Where have you been? We've always been going. First of all, I'm non-binary, so let's just get there. Please stop assuming that and how you see a person presenting, that you can automatically guess their gender identity from that. You can't. But definitely it was a whole lot. Like my year, actually, I went to MAL and wasn't my first MAL. I'm there walking around with my sash and someone interrupts a conversation that I'm having with another community member. And it's, oh my gosh, I didn't expect to see women here at MAL. I didn't even know they let women into the Eagle. You interrupted my conversation for that?
They should have got a smack across the mouth, but consent and all.
Yeah, I'm entitled. I can't go but so far. It's just like, yeah. Since they gave us the right to vote and get bank accounts on our own and shit, we've been able to walk into places that were not specifically just for men to begin with. People, like, you can't continue to act as if we were never there at the start of Leather. You can't continue to act as if we were never there at the start of the LGBTQIA plus movement. You can't act as if we weren't there. A vast majority of these so-called men's only spaces, they love to have us there helping to cook in the back or serve food or rub their backs when they're sick or do this, that, and the third. We've always been there. So please don't act that just because we're starting to actually demand that you recognize publicly that we've been there and we're a part of your cornerstones. Don't act like it's new. We've always been there.
You've been around the block and laid down some bricks on that block. I find it interesting, some of the discourse now with the younger people that are coming into Leather, really not knowing some history, because there are spaces for them now. They've never experienced a time where they didn't have spaces, right? I've been to Leather bars and I know the culture and the protocol for being in a male Leather bar, right? You don't wear the fancy perfume. You're not smelling like a girl. Let's put it in quotes, right?
Yeah.
They have a certain kind of protocol. And when you're in their house, you follow that protocol. We have always been welcomed, not as warmly welcomed, but we've always occupied those spaces. There have been Leather dykes who have forged a way for others to be in those spaces. And I think because younger people have never experienced that, but want to talk about it, until you experience it, then you don't really have not only the lived history, but if you haven't spoken to people who have experienced it, maybe you should maybe you should maybe be a little humble and maybe do a little bit more research. I came up in Leather and there was no internet. So you had to work for your shit. I'm sure you had to work for yours too. There have been spaces that we weren't warmly welcomed in, but we have always been. We're always going to be a cornerstone, a part of their history, just like they're a part of our history, right? If you think otherwise, because everybody loves thinking that Pose is the shit. I'm not saying that it's not, but when you've
It's the
lived
only
with Pose,
that a lot of them have.
exactly, and there were the lesbians that were doing things. I have a whole video on my YouTube page that talks about how the lesbians played a part and why it's called LGBTQ.
Yes. People
Okay.
don't even recognize that there's a very specific reason that the L is put first in LGBTQ because of all the work that lesbians, including Leather Dykes, did during the AIDS epidemic, the AIDS genocide, call it what it is, the AIDS genocide that happened in the late 70s to early 90s. Like there are some leather men walking around right now. There are some male kinksters walking around right now who still don't give us our proper due, but would not have been able to bury their lovers and their friends with dignity if it were not for some of us. Because when those nurses weren't going in these wards,
that's right.
They
didn't want to touch you because they
yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about titles. Let's not forget the fact that titles themselves started to raise money for people, not even for organizations at the time. It was there to raise money specifically for people, for communities, and for people within the communities directly to give them money for medicines and supply and food and things of that nature. Even some of our largest international titles, that's the actual basis of it, both IML and EMSL. So this whole idea that, oh, again, it's that Tom of Finland mentality. Just because that's what you find sexy, you feel like you have to portray it in this very specific manner. Nah, it was never just that.
And I even think that the aesthetic. Let's move back a little bit, because I do ask title holders why, which is why I started this. Are title holders even a thing in this day and age? But that's not the thing I want to talk about. I do want to talk about that, but even going back to the Tom of Finland and understanding that leather comes from the military, it is about a fetish of uniforms. And that doesn't mean that it's just American uniforms. It's uniforms. It's military, right? And if it's not your shit, then it's just not your shit.
Yeah.
But leather, if you say you are leather, there are certain things that come with that. If it doesn't, then just be kinky, and it's okay. Just be kinky. And you're right, title holders, it did start because folks needed to pay their rent. Folks needed food, raised awareness, did a lot of education to let the rest of the world know not only about AIDS, but also that what we do is safe, sane, and consensual, even though people want to rail against that. I want to ask you about that because I've had conversations with some title holders, and they're like, oh, I just ran for a title for clout.
Somebody said that out loud? We are bold these days.
I want you to be for a loss of words.
It's not often you catch me speechless, but shit. That's a wild level of fuckery right there. Titles can serve a purpose. Titles still can totally serve a purpose. I'm gonna keep it funky, and I ran for a bar title. The number one part and parcel of what my job was for my bar title was to represent my bar. Even now, I am representing the DC Eagle, and by virtue of all Eagles. That's why I ran for my title. I loved my bar. I ran for my title because I value women and non-binary people being upheld and having a light shine on us before we die about what we're capable of able to do in the community. I did not want the legacy of the DC Eagle to die. I was like, hey, I like the bar. I don't want this title to fall to the wayside because nobody wants to run for it. That happens often with missed titles. People don't have the time. They think they don't have the money to do it. You'll be surprised at what you can do for a little bit of ingenuity, but don't have the time, don't have the money. They think it's too much going on. And then all of that on top of your own inner saboteurs telling you, oh, I can't do it, this, that, and the third. You often don't even get people running for missed titles. So I was like, I think I can do it. I love the bar itself. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Titles have their place in their space, especially bar titles. Maybe I'm a little biased, but bars, for better or for worse, are really a cornerstone of leather still to this day. So representing these spaces that we still gather at and commune at and raise money at and party at and get nasty at, being ambassadors for these spaces, I think is still important. It still has a place. But what it looks like and how that actually plays out, of course, has changed since it started back in the early days, because there was no internet back then. You really had to be that face in person talking to people. You really had to get up and go spaces and do all of that. Now, not as much, because we have the internet. People are able to congregate like we're doing right now online and have conversations. But it doesn't change the fact that people still continue to forget that leather very much is an in real time, shoulder to shoulder, person to person community. Like, there is leather and then there is the leather community. The minute you say you're a part of the community, at some point, if at all possible, stepping from behind your computer or behind your electronic device.
And stepping from behind your kink or your BDSM, because leather is also about advocacy, fundraising, protocol, a hierarchy. It's about all of those things. I think is the foundation of all the things that sit on top of it. So you're talking about your corner bar, having a bar title. If someone asked me if they want to run for a title, and I said, you should run for a bar title. Because I don't run for titles at all, but bar titles have a special place in my heart. Here in New York, we used to have More Than the Eagle as a leather bar. I hung out at the bar. We did some crazy things in them little bars or whatever. When you ran for a title, not only are you the face of the title, but you're the face of the bar. You bring in patronage to the bar. You explain things, the protocols, the etiquette, the manners. You do those things. That's why it's called your home bar. It's your home bar. And we raise money and do all of those kinds of things. But behind your computer and thinking I have a large platform and I'm calling myself leather doesn't really make you leather. At least not to me.
There are some people who, for specific reasons, may not ever be able to go into a bar.
Right.
And for them to use the technology that we have right now, for them to still be a part of the community, I think is really important. However, if you have the capability to go out, if you have the time, trust me, if there's one thing you're going to learn about being in the leather community, you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money in the leather bar. You don't. I have never seen anyone kicked out for nursing a couple sodas at night. You don't even have to drink. Like, you can nurse a couple sodas for the entire freaking night and be good. There is something to be said for being able to actually go out and talk to people face to face. When I'm talking to people and explaining to folks who are curious about the communities and curious about leather or leather itself, I usually explain it like this. Kink is what we do. It's the technical aspect of everything. MS, that's where you start to deal with interpersonal relationships, those very close-knit relationships and how we talk to and relate to one another. Leather is about the community. It's about communal care. It's about communal play often. It's about a connection beyond just yourself and your one little person or persons if you happen to be poly. It's about the community at large and taking part in the community for better or for worse is what we do as leather people. It is a pet peeve of mine to continue to see people talk about, oh, I don't want to be a part of the leather community. By virtue of being leather, you are a part of the leather community. You can build your own. There is the big C community, which is the umbrella under which all MAGA folks look at us and think that we're all deviants and weirdos and whatnot. And then there is the little C community in and of itself, which you are feeding into every single day. You can go ahead and say that you're not going to be a part of that little C community, but you're always a part of the larger community, which is the subculture of leather itself.
I was talking to someone and we were discussing community. and what that really means. When someone says they're part of the community or I'm in community with someone, what does that mean? Because you're right, there are things that happen in the big C community that I'm looking at like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And then there's the small C. So I try to focus, although I can't help but sometimes see what happens in the big C community and be like, all you gotta do is ask a question. Just ask a question. You open your mouth and say that. Ask a question, please. Like, or even search the internet is free. The way the internet is now, you have to do a search and then move down some pages because there's a lot of stuff that isn't really good, but we don't have that kind of literacy anymore. Being in community is literally that, being in it. You want to be a part of it, cool. I think when you say you're in it, you're doing certain things to be a part of being in the community. So you talked about titles, bars, the legacy of lesbians. Thoughts on what purpose title holders have today, whether we should keep them, not to mention, but I know Gen Z who don't think it serves a purpose anymore.
Some people who think physical books don't serve a purpose anymore, but needing to get them because Amazon's trying to take away all our ebooks. There tends to be a thing with youth that, oh, I see how it was done and it doesn't make sense anymore and I feel like I can do it better, so let's just get rid of it and do something different. We will never be able to get away from offline person-to-person interaction. That is just who we are as human beings. Until the mainframe takes us, we are all strapped into the matrix. We are still going to be very much so person to person, people to people. Title holders hold that space by being where you can walk into a bar, a convention, a party, or whatever. You may not know any other soul in that place, but you see somebody with their title vest or their title sash on, and that lets you know that, hey, I can at least go up and introduce myself to them, have a conversation with them, ask them a couple questions, and I'm going to get something out of it. I might not know anybody, but I can at least talk to them. That's one of the purposes that we still serve.
And I also think that, speaking about IMSL is the sister contest to IML. IMSL came from IML. And if you want to know, on my YouTube channel, I have a whole thing about title holders. Also, I wonder if, talking about the Gen Zers who might be at IMSL, who have paid to go to IMSL, if they realize, although a lot of kink happens there, there's a title holder contest happening there. And you can sit and learn a plethora of things, if you really want to, about leather and title holders.
Yeah.
I understand being in a class because there is education also happening at IMSL. And I do also understand sitting in the courtyard and getting your ass beat is a hot thing to do also. But I think it would behoove some people to have an opinion about something that they have not taken an opportunity to really dive deep into about. So at IMSL this April, there's a contest happening.
Yeah.
There's the interviews, there's the fantasy, there's the bar night, then there's actually the contest, and then there's the winner. There's stuff happening other than fucking and sucking.
I think a part of the question of why is it still needed is because people don't understand what actually goes into running for a lot of contests, running for a lot of titles, especially for something of the caliber of IMSL. You have to be able to teach because that is a component of your scoring. So you have to come up with your own original class and actually teach that class, and you're scored on how you teach that class. People think the fantasy doesn't count for anything, but the fantasy itself shows how do you actually play? What does that look like? How creative are you in your kinks? What are your kinks? Showcase that. There's the interview itself. You have to sit there and answer questions and have actual opinions about the community. If they're judges typically like myself, I'm not just going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you about the history of the title that you're running for. Right. I'm going to ask you about the history of the community. When you start to get to some of these higher level titles, you're dealing with people who are judged on their ability to be able to teach, who are judged on their knowledge of the actual community itself. So you're looking at these people who hold a title, but they hold several roles within that title of historian. They hold the title of fundraiser. They hold the title of ambassador. They hold the title of house dom or house top, house bottom when they're showing up to events. There's so many different things that, especially when you get to a certain caliber of title, that you have to do, and you have to show that you can even get the title. Any of that not important?
It's important.
Let's be very clear in this day and age. The internet is there. You go ahead and look at that stuff. How many people have we personally watched come up who have no experience, no mentorship that we know of whatsoever, that start a platform as a class to get paid and have people following them strong and wrong? At least with a title holder, if there is any actual integrity to the title and the process through which the contest is held, you have people from different walks of life within the community looking at this person and asking these questions, where you have people who have their own levels of experience, their own levels of savvy, their own levels of wisdom, their own levels of knowledge, who are looking at these people and being like, that is not how you beat somebody with a flogger. No, deducting points for that.
Fact.
So there is, for better or for worse, a certain amount of fact checking. Is it 100%? No, nothing is.
Right.
But it's a layer that people have to go through to even get that title before they're able to teach with that particular platform, as opposed to, I'm gonna start an IG account because I used to be a Tumblr sugar baby who didn't even get any real sugar, but I'm gonna go ahead and start it, and I'm gonna teach you all what I know, which is absolutely nothing but screaming into the void every day for several hours on end, telling someone to pay my bills.
Oh, okay. Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel, Goddess. Well, speaking about that, and if everybody has questions, please put them in the little question box there, or as some people do, just put it in the chat. But you're absolutely right, which is why sometimes when people talk to me about titles, I say start with a bar title. Because a bar title is going to ease you into some things. You may have certain responsibilities. You may not have any responsibilities with a bar title, right? Let's keep it real. Back in the 90s, when we had bars and they had bar titles, you had to do like fundraising. You had to go certain parts for the bar. You had to do certain things. And if you were a boot black, you came in there and did some of that too. Let's not forget about our boot blacks. You ran for that title. You had to do certain things. You may have a bar title that is just asking you to show up once a month. That's a low lift, and that's fine. But while you are having this moment of being a title holder, you should be educating yourself in other things. You should be educating yourself because maybe you just want the title for clout. What are tips on being in service to people who run? That's a good question. As I was saying, you should be able to educate yourself on certain things. I would like it for people who, before they ran for a bar title, to have some education within the community before running for a title, opposed to having a pretty face. That is what it is. What needs to be worked on? Damn technology. She got booted off. Sorry. They'll be back. Let me see. Okay. Now let's see. That's a good question too. Okay. You got booted off.
And this is why we needed bars, because technology is not always reliable.
Okay. So you had several questions while you were frozen. Oh no, what was the question? One of the questions was, what are tips on being in service to people who run?
Whew. Oh God. Okay. If we're talking about during the contest in and of itself, first of all, one of the best things that you can do is ask the person what they need. How do they handle stress? What are some things that you can do to assist them? Even running for a bar title is stressful. And I say even running for a bar title because people treat bar titles like they trash. Whatever.
But in the bar title, it may not be as elaborate as an international title, but
their responsibilities you have to handle. One of the things, like I said, definitely going ahead and talking to that person and seeing what things they typically need or help with, or help them kind of process during stressful situations and events is really important. Actually taking a look at the application itself so you can see what is required of them, so you can catch any possible blind spots that the person who's running might not have picked up on, and ask questions, be able to be not just reactive but possibly proactive in assisting them and being of service to them. Keeping snacks on you at all times that they can eat is super important, because you will forget to eat. The whole running around and trying to get everything done and taken care of will definitely happen. Those are just 3 things off the top of my head that you could do to be of service, to assist someone and be of service during that. There's so many things that you could do.
And I also think, answering only in theory's question to add on to that, is that if someone is running or they want to run, if they're not ready to run, then tell them they're not ready, or what is expected of them before they run. Be curious and ask certain kinds of questions, but they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. For someone to say, this bar title requires you to do 3 bar nights, 3 fun at the bar nights, you have to do fundraising and have a watch party, right? You may have to, there was a lot of go dancing back in my day, a lot of go dancing on the bar, baby, which was fantastic. You may have to do those things and tell someone, I don't think you're ready.
Are you willing to talk to the public on the days in which you don't feel like it? Are you ready to deal with the public, not just while you're in your title year, but for the rest of the time that you are in the community, for sure? Are you ready to deal with people coming up to you? Oh my gosh, are you such and such? Oh my gosh, what happened to such and such bar? My bar is gone. I still have people coming up to me. Oh my God, you're right. Oh my gosh, I was there. How's the bar doing? And I will be dealing with this for the rest of my life, because I'm not leaving the community. I don't have any reason. Ain't nothing ever gonna get that bad for me to leave. You have to be willing. Do you actually have not just the drive to do this? Do you have the time to do this? Because people think, oh, it's just a bar night. It's just like 1 or 2 bar nights out of the year. That don't mean shit. No. Because you still have to plan that bar night. You still have to get your stuff together for that bar night. You need to make sure that if you work the day of the bar night at your regular job, you got enough energy to carry your ass and be happy, smiley, go lucky while you're at that bar night. And even though you only technically have to do your 1 to 2 to 3 bar nights a year at your home bar, you're still expected to go other places to represent your bar. So are you going to have the time and energy to do that? Are you ready? Do you have the time? Do you have the energy? Do you have the character? Do you have the motivation to keep going? Because it is a thankless job. There are a lot of people who get into this because I look cute in a sash and I want people to lavish attention on me. But there are a lot of us who do this because we love our community and we want to serve our community in a myriad of ways. And not everybody is able to host a party every month. And not everybody is able to do educational panels every 2 to 3 weeks. But I can run for my bar title and host a bar night and go to some events. So that is another way to be of service to your community. We need to make sure that we're actually capable of doing it without hurting or harming ourselves and the community.
This is very true, which is why I don't run for a title. I'm an introvert. I'm at home. An introvert is about energy. So I'm not shy or anything like that. It's just about my energy. Being the handler for IML, for IMSL 3 was exhausting. And I wasn't even running. I understand wholeheartedly what it takes to even run for a bar title, a regional title, an international title, the world title.
I'm an introvert myself. I'm the social person. When I have the energy, I am a social person, but that can run out fairly quickly.
You may be in the middle. We've been doing the workshops and we're doing certain things, and the prince will look at me and be like, let's get this shit together. Come on. Because they know I'm about to get nasty. I don't want to be nasty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my daughter has definitely came in a couple times and been like, okay, mother, I think it's time for you to go. I think you need to go get something to eat, because the face constantly has subtitles at that point. The answers get a lot less filtered. It's not to say that you can't be an introvert and be a title holder. I'm an introvert and a title holder, but it's about knowing your limits and not pushing yourself past that. I was crazy enough to run for my title November 19 for Miss DC Eagle 2020. So I ran in November 2019. I had my hysterectomy scheduled for January 2020. I was actively entitled in the first couple months. There's pictures of me at the Onyx Mid-Atlantic Gear Show at MAL representing as Miss DC Eagle in my title year. I did my mandatory welcome AL bar night with my husband, who I love dearly, while just barely 2 weeks out of recovery for a hysterectomy. I am there pushing myself, trying to do this. Would I do this again? Would I do it again? I can't even say I wouldn't. If it was under the same circumstances, I would do it again. Was it smart? Absolutely not. Never said I made 100% smart choices. Sometimes I am hard-headed to a certain degree, but I made sure that I had a support system there with me who was able to help me do what needed to be done. It's definitely a time when I started to learn to listen to my body, because you can't continue to do your entire year taking care of all of your responsibilities if you put yourself out of commission in the beginning because you're pushing yourself too hard. But it can be done. I did it. I had some fun while I was doing it, but it was definitely one of those things where you really have to take, and somebody else, that probably would not be the opportune time to go and run for a title and have to be the title years in recovery from something like that. Probably not opportune for them. Probably not a great idea. So knowing yourself and knowing what you can handle, because look, you look cute in those pictures if they're taking pictures of you. You got people coming up to you, gassing your head up. Oh my gosh. At the end of the day, you are still in service to your community.
Okay, boys, there's a question. How do you incorporate your own fashion and culture into your looks while keeping up with the leather aesthetic? Shelby?
Oh, one of my sayings that I continue to go ahead and say is my leather is in my skin, so I'm always in leather. So it doesn't matter if I'm running around in a onesie or if I'm running down in like full cow, as we call it. The full cow is just leather from head to toe. I am always in leather, for better or for worse. When I ran for my title, my final look was actually an outfit that I was able to pull together. I bought this particular two-piece outfit, and I just jazzed it up a little bit with a Amazon corset that matched. And literally the dress itself is the skirt portion of it is a mermaid skirt, a tight-fitted mermaid skirt that has a African print panel down along the front. And I have gone to contests, like the vast majority of the contests that I've gone to, whether it's a Miss title, Mr. title, even mixed title, it's you got people walking around in just plain black leather and, you know, the button up, and, you know, the most that you may get at a lot of these places, ooh, I got jazzy colored piping and shit. And it's just like, that's not who I am. I think it looks great. That's not my particular aesthetic. Your leather is who you are. Leather is expression of who you are at your core without a guiding idea of this vanilla sense of who you have to be that's tamping you down. So if you want to do colored leather, just make sure that it is well kept and do what you need to do with it. If you are trying to, like I said, that was my outfit. That was my formal for my contest. So I was able to pull in and mix and match and put things together that fully represented who I was as a person. Because I'm black as black. I'm black outside of Black History Month black.
Oh.
So I'm going to incorporate that into almost everything that I do. I have gone to bars and wore like fucking Timbs, and no, you're not a leather. It's just that's the last time I checked. That's a genuine leather upper right there. Okay, leather is who you are and how you are willing to express that person in the fullest part of it. Yeah, I love to mix and match. I find all black leather, honestly, like at this stage, a little boring because it's done to death. We are in a place, in a space. They know how to color leather. You can still do full cow.
They do it. You can do full cow, yes. I understand leather only comes in 3 colors. black, brown, and white, but they can color leather, right? Because cows come in colors, right? I would like to see more brown leather. Not that I, you know what I'm saying? I would like to see more brown leather. I would like to, and that's just me, because black leather has been played out this and the third. The bigger picture, the bigger question is, if you can afford it, go for it.
That part.
It's expensive, baby. It's expensive.
And that's the other part of it. If your aesthetic does not include the ability to go ahead and buy thousands of dollars worth of leather, don't put yourself in debt trying to go ahead and do this. My outfit, like I said, my formals at most cost me what, $15 for a freaking leather Amazon corset I bought to put together with something I already owned. And I still get compliments on that outfit to this day. I tell people, and we say what we want to say about contests, but there's always an auction at a contest. Yep. And you are able to go there and get leather for cheap.
Yep.
And a lot of these contests, you will be surprised about the fucking variety of sizing that people have donated items for. I keep a box of stuff that I have bid on at auctions and contests that I don't even necessarily wear. Ain't never put my body in not a bit of it. I can't wear these jock straps. I ain't got nothing to fill the front. I can't wear these jock straps. I done bought 2 small chaps. I done bought 2 big chaps. But they're in that box waiting for me to donate to someone else's travel fund, donate to someone else's contest, and pass it forward. Again, servicing the community. But that's also a great place to go and get items and get leather, get toys, get things to wear, and get it for cheaper, because it's always priced lower. It always at least starts being priced lower than its actual value. But like, you don't have to, like, leather is an aesthetic. Don't get me wrong. It is an aesthetic. There is an aesthetic associated with it, but that does not have to be your specific aesthetic.
And leather also, not only being an aesthetic, it's also a fetish.
Yeah.
When you're in that leather, either you're wearing it, like I did an artist lounge with Sir Nancy, and we talked about leather, and is it the aesthetic of you wearing it or someone wearing it? You know what I'm saying? What gets you off on that? And I see Theo said that they got their first leather at Imsel for $50. Oh, it was that jacket you were wearing when you came over. That's true. I was there when you bought that. Yes, that's true. Yeah, and that jacket is nice too. So yeah, but again, if you're at Imsel and you're just doing that other thing, and you're not really taking advantage of all that Imsel has to offer you, and to get some education, like being in the vendor mart or seeing the auction table, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you're gonna miss out on all of those things,
because people forget that contests often are some of the only times in which the entire community comes together. So it's going to be a whole lot of stuff tossed in at one point in time, and you could get lost doing it, trying to get into everything. But also, that's the beauty of it, because it's so much stuff, so many things kind of put together in this one day, one weekend, that you experience all these things. You get to go to the auction, meet vendors from across the country, across the region, across the country that you would never meet before, and be able to buy their products and actually talk to them in person. Like I said, you get to get classes from people from around the world who are showing up to go ahead and teach you things that they love to do.
Right.
Like, you get all of that for the price, for some of these contests, for the price of less than your phone bill.
Yeah.
For some of these contests, less than your phone bill. That is a steal and a deal to me.
Yeah.
To me. But I highly value community and engaging in communal spaces. I highly value the idea and the ideals of what especially a lot of us Black and brown people harken back to, which is our roots and how things used to congregate around the marketplace, or used to congregate around, you know, how you have towns and there's that particular specific little building or space within the middle that the chieftain or whoever sits in, and that's where everyone will congregate around. Like, we all remember old days, not all of us, but I know I do. We coming together during somebody's wedding, and also during the wedding, we might do the baptism at the same weekend because that's the only time grandma gonna be able to go ahead and come up.
Okay,
You
it's
know,
gonna
she don't
be here,
travel
right?
no more.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like making these big gatherings, an actual gathering of putting all of these things together and getting the most bang for our buck in our time. I'm used to that, and to still see that alive and well in person in the leather community. Like, I can't speak for any other community, but my little C community, I'm going to ensure that never dies.
Right. Not my little C community is never going to die either. And speaking of my little C community, so I started this fire cohort, myself and the Prince, and so we're going to be doing some fire in the courtyard at IMSL.
Oh!
Of little C community. And it's things like that I'm talking about when you say, oh, this is what I do. I mentioned recently, I only have two pieces of leather. This is them. You have one of these, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I've never really been big on the whole leather wearing the aesthetic kind of a thing. It's nice. But I think that, like you were saying, that leather is more than what you put on. It's really how you show up and the things that you do. And also people like using these words, honor and integrity, and these words. That also is a part of, I say to some people, I guess that's how your leather is. So when you're railing against the machine, I do it myself. When I'm railing against the machine, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna stand on principle, because motherfuckers like to say 10 toes down. If you're gonna be 10 toes down, be 10 toes down and have some integrity. But that also means that you may be alone, and you may be, because you're not part of the in group. Yeah. And that's fine. Because that's just the way my leather works. Your leather may work different. You may need the clout. I don't need the clout. What is Theo saying now? Don't listen to Theo. Theo's a troublemaker. Definitely make sure to be there. Really also hoping to get into cigars at IMSL. Might visit a cigar shop before if I can. Oh,
there's a cigar shop not far from the IMSL Hotel. There's actually a couple tobacco shops that are not too far from IMSL. Just because I know, because we made a trip there last year and the year before. Jesus Christ. I don't even bring a smoke.
Because we're going to have cigars and whiskey in the courtyard as well, because that's just a wonderful thing that we need to do. I know you have other things to do. This has been a rousing conversation. Unless you want to talk about something else, I am here for you.
I got a good maybe 20 minutes left, so
all right, so let me ask you this question. I know we talked a lot about, and Theo brought up Gen Z. What would you tell yourself then? Wait, you know what I'm trying to say? If you could
what would
say
I tell my younger self? About leather? Yeah. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you can. Go ahead and do it. And I think that at least for me stemmed from constantly being taught as a Black femme growing up that, oh, wait, you gotta wait your turn. So I spent a good little bit of time. There's nothing, I definitely, first of all, I definitely highly recommend coming in and being willing to watch and wait and watch and listen to a certain degree, but don't wait too long. There's never going to be a perfect moment for you to go ahead and start, but it's always a better moment for you to go ahead and start after you've taken in some of the landscape, after you've read some books, after you talk to some people. Like, I would not suggest going out and jumping right into playing as a top, especially, or a bottom, or just playing period, and you've only been to like one or two events and you're out there trying to do needle play. Let's not. However,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
However, like they're like, you don't have to wait forever to try, and don't be afraid to tell people, hey, I want to try this, I'm new to this, can you walk me through it? Yeah, so those are definitely the things that I would tell my younger self. All that glitters ain't gold. Just definitely have to remind myself of that. All that glitters ain't gold. It's a whole lot that people come into this thinking that because it is a subculture that at least publicly and loudly speaks about not being like the general populace, that we are always different than the general populace. And that is not the case. Literally, it's basically just the way that we fucking interact on those levels that we're different, but every single bias, every single insecurity and everything that we have, we bring with us into the community. So you're going to find a lot of that. So be willing to work on your own insecurities, be willing to work on your own biases, and also keep your head on a swivel to pay attention to other people who are dealing with their own biases and insecurities, because they can get you fucked up. You can sit at the feet to learn at some people who will have you fucked up because they're teaching you how to be ableist along with being a top. They're teaching you how to be a misogynist along with teaching you how to be a dominant. They're teaching you all of these things. Like nothing, no education, no part of what it is that we do, that we learn, comes without our own personal experiences and knowledge imbued into that. And you need to be careful of what you are taking and holding on to when you come into here. There are some people that I know of personally who have a wealth of information, and I will never listen to a word they fucking say.
Say that shit, okay?
And it has everything to do with, first of all, you don't know how to talk to people to give the information, let alone you do not know how to give the information without giving it with all of the extra bullshit that is not needed. You have great tips on how to build a house, build a leather house, but you don't know how. But those tips are also packaged within a whole bunch of fucking sexism. I don't want that.
Right,
So I'm gonna
exactly.
go over to somebody else who I can actually learn that from and get that information from. So do not leave your spirit of discernment at the damn door when you come into here.
Right.
If
Exactly.
anything, raise it up, because what we do, everything that we do, and I really need to emphasize that every single thing that we do has consequences.
Yep.
Everything that we do.
Yep.
From the quote unquote smallest, little, simplest impact play scene to the dynamics that we're in, to even interacting with one another on the Big C community. Everything has consequences. Everything has a ripple effect. Everything has what karma actually really is. Karma isn't good or bad. Karma is consequences. Karma is effect. Everything has karma attached to it. Everything has a price to pay. Are you willing to pay that price? Are you willing to be associated with and tied to this thing that you're trying to do? So pick carefully. Take your time. There's nothing wrong with taking your time and sitting back and trying to learn and being discerning about who you need to learn from, but also believe enough in yourself that you're not going to spend 12, 13, 14 fucking years just sitting back learning because you feel like you need to learn something more. Oh, if I just get something else, I'll be ready. Girl, come the fuck on.
It's true. It's true. And also because the loudest in the room isn't always the best person in the room. The one with the most times. I always talk about myself. I'm like, yo, when people be like, oh, sorry, I'm like, don't do that. No. I'm just a butch with a cigar and some whiskey. You know what I'm saying? I am not the big muckety muck. I'm not that. Yeah. And it's not me trying to downplay anything that I've learned or that I've witnessed or anything, but I don't want someone's to put on me something that is, I want to earn that.
Yeah.
Right? I want to earn that. I don't want you to have this, even though what I am on the internet is what I am in real life. Like I don't have an internet life in real life. Like, some people do. And that's fine. Yeah. I don't have time for that shit. But you're right. Just because all of the things have consequences, and really and truly, if you are a certain hue, your consequences may be a whole lot different than someone else's consequences. And so you also have to be, when we talk about community and keeping each other safe, we have to keep each other safe in those kinds of ways as well. Because somebody kicked down the door with the 4-4 because I'm doing an impact scene. You can't consent to abuse or to assault, right? So I can't say they said yes and we negotiated and all of these things. When you talk about the impact that this may have on our lives, it's true. It'll have an impact on you physically, mentally, spiritually. I know for myself, spiritually, you know what I'm saying? I can't just Just saying, stop looking at me like that. Because, and that is true. And so when you say about keeping us safe, we are sexual outlaws. That's what leather is. We're sexual outlaws, and the shit that we do is very dangerous and can lead to certain consequences. But we also have to realize how far are we willing to take that consequence.
Mm-hmm. And consequences is literally just the effect. Karma is literally just the effect. There are good consequences to what we do. There are bad consequences to what we do. There are neutral consequences to what we do. And what might be a good consequence for me might be a bad consequence for somebody else. That's just how it works. You just have to be willing. You just not even have to be willing. Just know it's coming. Just know that there is something. Nothing happens within a vacuum, and there is no effect happening on the other side of this, especially for us as Black and brown people. And do not expect that the call is always going to come from outside the house. Sometimes it's coming from inside the house. Sometimes the call is coming from inside the house.
Yes.
Sometimes you're going to be dealing with people who within our own community as Black and brown people who are telling us you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, or giving you bad advice, or setting you up to fucking fail, or like just a myriad of fucking things. Do not expect that everybody who shares this with you is going to be for you any more than expecting everybody who is a part of the LGBTQIA plus community is going to be for you. All skin folk ain't your kin folk.
That is true. And another thing real quick, then I'm gonna let you go. When you're talking about the call coming from in the house, there's sometimes that the call is coming from within the house. And I always like to remind those people that if you are going to shit on one part of what we do as leather folk, you have to shit on all of it. And this is what I mean. And some folks have heard me talk about this. Some folks have heard me talk about this. If you are African American, if you're Black, capital B, and you do rope or whips or floggers or bondage or gags or torture, all of these things, all of these things have a history in certain things. So we can't be on our high horse over here talking about some shit and not recognize all of this other stuff that we call sexy. All of this other stuff that gets us wet isn't actually in the same realm as those things as well. Because and so sometimes the call is really coming from within the house. It may even be in the same fucking room with you.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to throw that out there because I don't know, like I said, with the big C, and sometimes I'm looking over there and I'm like, okay, all right, if you believe that, that's fine. I'm not knocking it, but it is what it is.
Can't leave that spirit sermon at the door. You can't leave it.
Yeah, true. Okay, I'm going to let you go, Goddess. I cannot wait to see you at IMSL.
Yes. I will be there. I will be running around, but I'm definitely, of course, trying to get some play in there. So I will be there for sure.
Y'all better jump on the Goddess's dance card because it'll fill up fast. It'll fill up fast. And also last year, when we had our conversation, said, "Hey, if you see me, come and talk to me." You said, "If you see me, come and talk to me." You cannot, and folks be like, "I don't know where the elders are. Where are the elders?"
I look if good for my age, but as we know in the queer and the gay communities, that you don't have to be years old to be an elder in this motherfucker. So by all means, come talk to me. I have no problem telling my story, sharing my experiences, sharing what knowledge I have. If I have the time, I'm gonna be a little busy this year, but by all means, if I have the time, I will go ahead and talk to you. If I have the time and the spoons, I will go ahead and talk to you. I'll talk to damn near anybody as long as your energy ain't funky. Don't come to me with funky breath or funky energy, please.
Okay, and with that, just have some fucking manners. I know, right? Okay, we can't. Dad, thank you everybody for showing up. Again, we'll see you at IMSL, April. If you're not a part of BLX's newsletter, please join the newsletter. I put out some information. I don't spam. I do it every now and then. And we hope to see you in the courtyard at IMSL. come April.
Yes. Gonna have a good time. Gonna have a good time. Come bring
Okay.
your
Got it.
big girl, big boy.
Okay, kings, queens, and those in between, we're here, Grease.
Bring-
Bye.